now, Aaron.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Talking with the Professionals. I'm Aaron Stelly, and of course, with me is my partner, Graham Parham. And today we have got the man who knows anything and everything when it comes to really the Memphis property and so much more knowledge, the Memphis market. And he's got so much more knowledge to lend us as well. I want to welcome on Jeremy Veldman. Jeremy, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Graham. Nice to see you guys again.
What's it been, what,
Absolutely.
6, 7 years since last time I saw you? No, wait, we had coffee after that, didn't we?
We
It's been
did
before
5 years
COVID, I
ago.
know that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I was
2018.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was going to say we've been working with Jeremy for years now. I'm not sure quite how many, Graham, but for those of you who don't know, Jeremy is strong in the Memphis market. He's one of our go-to agents out there. And Jeremy, I'll kind of let you jump right into it, but tell us a little bit about your operation and what you do and kind of where you operate in.
I do have one question before you answer that one. Tell us about what inspired you with your father. I really want to hear that story.
Yeah, well, he's an entrepreneur, self-employed traveling professional speaker. He's been doing that most of my life. And I started traveling with him when I was about 9 or 10 years old, saw the country, got out from my small town and found out there was a big world and a big country out there and some interesting experiences to have. But more importantly, he was making the transition into business, and it would have been a multi-million-dollar business that retired him at 40. But then the phone started ringing and people started requesting his services as a speaker, and really got hauled into that, kicking and screaming against his will, but decided to go with it. And as a result, you got money and you got freedom. He chose the freedom over the security. And that kind of shaped my worldview going forward. And, I chose the security too, starting out in my corporate gig, did it for 9 years, hated it, eventually got let go. And his phone call was the first one I received. And he said, "This is the best thing that ever happened to you. You got to get out on your own. You got to get free from the tyranny of a paycheck." And he's always been preaching to me, be on your own. That's what he's done his whole life. He's been a kind of a pioneer, done his own thing, traveling, speaking, being in front of people, young people especially, influencing their lives. He's influenced my life in a profound way. And the money's always been there, but more importantly, it's the lifestyle, the freedom, the opportunity to be on your own. And quite frankly, to quote you, Graham, when we spoke last, I broke away from a gig shortly after that, and I've been on my own ever since. And you told me it's good to be the king. And yeah, it is good to be the king.
It is good to be the king. Yeah, I did that same corporate gig for 16 years and got fed up with it. And my buddy was in the business and he brought me in and he taught me people work with people. That's what this is all about. People try to reinvent themselves in this industry, whether it be a real estate agent, a loan officer, title, and they all try to say, well, start going and leave the personal touch out, which I don't agree with. I mean, Aaron's considered a millennial. I'm constantly banging on his head. No, you got to make that phone call. You got to talk to these people. That's what they want to hear versus hiding behind that email. And we constantly are having that, that communication. We just constantly trying to enhance that. And that's one of the great things that you do, Jeremy. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
So when you got into the real estate, tell me how I know you closed on your first one back, what, 06 it was, is that right? Yeah.
I did, yeah.
You still got it today?
No, I sold it 2 years ago. It was during the peak of 2021. I got an offer I couldn't turn down. I planned to keep it forever, but it's just one of those things. We had an unusual bump in 2020, 2021, probably primarily because of COVID and the unintended consequences of COVID. And I decided to liquidate it. So I'm glad I did. I picked the right time. A lot of people did when they sold back then. And, we're hopefully reaping the benefits of it today with a changing market and rising rates. So you got to know sometimes, you never say time the market, but sometimes you got to time the market. You got to know when to buy, you got to know when to sell. So I think I sold at the opportune time. But yeah, I bought my first property in 06, held it for 15 years, sold it in 2021, made a nice 6-figure profit. So real estate is real.
It is. And I did this very same thing. I sold a whole bunch during COVID. Yeah, actually about 6 or 7. And as you know, the exchange principle, you sell one, buy two. So it really worked out well. And, I've got some properties up in Memphis, and I've experienced, as a matter of fact, I cashed two out just in January because of the appreciation. So that's another way of going about getting that equity out. But so you bought your first investment property, you didn't flip it, you put a tenant in there, you were barely making some money, and then take us from there.
Yeah, I jumped in, becoming a landlord, self-managing right away. Definitely learned as I went. Took some bumps and bruises along the way. Lost money on it for 3 years, then got some help with management, and it was profitable for the next 12. And what you learn over time is real estate is forgiving. You hold it long enough and you hang in there. Those early years are the toughest, those first 1 to 5 years, because you can, you're probably getting in tight as far as the equity spread. Maybe the cash flow, especially today, may not be there. So you're going to have good months and bad months. You're going to have periods of time where you make money and lose money. And it's a tough ride. I mean, especially if you have to absorb a capital expense, whether it's a roof or an air conditioner, or in my case, I had multiple tenant turns in the first few years. So that decimated my cash flow. But ironically, I purchased on a 5-year ARM. Interest rates went down, not up. So my mortgage payment got cut in half. And it's not because I'm smart, it's because I'm stupid lucky. And then my cash flow started going up. And so things began to turn. Without getting into too many specifics, the point is, if you hang on long enough with real estate, and if you can absorb those blows early, it will pay off. You'll start to see the appreciation in the property. That's exactly what I experienced, and I know you did too, Graham. Your cash flow will improve. Your tenant's paying down the debt. You can write off, hopefully, the depreciation if you qualify, but more importantly, all of the expenses in the property. You make money, but your accountant sees it as a loss, and that helps you as far as the tax benefits. So long story short, I've been at this for 15 years now. It's working. The properties I'm holding are starting to cash flow. They've been cash flowing, and it's working. And it's a good feeling when you get from where you start out to over here, where you start to see the long-term benefits.
Well, I got a really nice, not a slap in the face, but when I was dealing with my accountant this year, we were trying to get it in by the 15th and so forth. And he was going to review it because he says, I have a terrible return because it's got a Schedule E that's a monster and so forth and so on. And I went through the whole thing and I said, well, how much am I getting back? He goes, no, let's focus on this line right here. Look at how much money you made in real estate. And I went, okay, I'll shut up. So yeah, and that's what it's all about. Long term, you start seeing that for, retirement, for passive income. That's what we're here. That's what I'm doing. So I think that's awesome, Jeremy. I mean, you kind of a master of all trades. I mean, you've been in real estate for quite some time, been an agent, worked for turnkey providers, done your own fix and flips, dealt with management. Where's your focus these days?
So I'm primarily an exit agent. So investors buy properties, hold them for a few years. For whatever reason they want to sell, I'm the guy they come to. Hey, I got a property on 123 Main Street. I'm thinking of selling. Can you help me? I'll price it out. Look at the cash flow, look at the figures, do what an agent does, list it, get it out there. I've got a list of people, investors who are hungry to buy right now. We pitch it to that list, get it out there, and then I broker the deal. You pay me a small fee for that. But basically, my primary gig right now is I'm an exit agent for any investors out there who are looking to release their trapped equity and redeploy into something else. Now, I hope you hold forever. Warren Buffett, my favorite holding period is forever. But the practical reality when it comes to investment properties is most people want to sell within 1 to 5 years. And their options are limited. A lot of them can reach out to the provider that sold them the property, but you may not get the best deal selling it back to them because they got to make money too on the flip side. The advantage of working with someone like me is I'm the agent. I'm connected to all the resources you need. And a single family house is the only piece of real estate that you can sell for full retail price. So I'm confident I can get the best price for you if you're looking to sell and release your trapped equity and move on to something else. That's what I do. I help you make money in real estate when it comes time to sell. You make your money when you buy, you realize it when it comes time to sell. I'm your guy over here when it comes time to sell. I'm your exit agent.
Do you encourage the majority of your clients that have invested in these properties to do an exchange? And if so, where do you try to keep them in the market or what?
I always recommend, exploring that option first. Now, there's some caveats to that. You go back a couple years ago when prices were just going crazy.
Right.
It may not necessarily be the best time to do a 1031. I mean, if you were selling in 2021 and you got top dollar plus, that's great. But then if you turn around and do an exchange, you're also going to be paying top dollar plus. So you got a lot of people who sold and maybe made 20% or whatever the equity spread was, and then turn around and had to do a 1031 and paid 40%. Well, then you're not necessarily gaining there. So it depends on the market circumstances. But the short answer is yes. I always recommend, if you can, to at least explore the option of doing a 1031 exchange and redeploying into something else.
And if you don't have a good intermediary, which I'm sure you do, Jeremy, we'll be glad to help you out with that. I've done several. I did really about half a dozen exchanges personally in the last 2 years, and they can be tricky. And I think the biggest thing is I can sell it pretty quick, but I got to replace it. Where am I going to find that replacement? That's your biggest challenge. But you can walk them through that, which is great. You know, I do actually have one property that you sent me. I'd love to show the audience if that's okay. Maybe you can sell it while we're on here. All right, hang on just a second here.
So
there's a duplex here.
Yeah.
In Memphis, and I'll just let you talk about it, Jeremy.
Well, speaking of 1031, I had a guy call me a couple of days ago, and he's in the middle of doing a 1031, and the amount that he needs to redeploy is almost exactly the purchase price for this property. So that was my initial sales pitch. But anyway, it's a duplex, and both sides are rented. You can see the total rent here is $1,670, and the price is about $190. You can see that the tenants have been in the property for a couple of years. Initially renovated a few years ago. Get readies were done. The get ready is whenever the previous tenant moves out, the management company goes in and does a refresh, cleans it up, and gets it and literally gets it ready for the next tenant. So you can see one was done last year in April, and the other one was done my birthday, actually, March 4, 2021. So you've got tenants in these properties that have been there for a couple of years. Everything's really nice, carpet, updated cabinets, kitchen, and all the like, and managed by the best company in town, in my opinion. That's Mid-South Best Rentals, my buddy Terry Kerr. Hello, Terry. Thank you for all you've done. And you're basically stepping into not only this property, but their system of management. So if you know anything about Mid-South, they've got a waiting list about a year long, and people are hungry for their stuff because they do such a good job with the property management. If you're going to buy and hold in a remote market, you got to have good property management in place. The catch is it may be hard to get into that because there could be a waiting list. This is a back door in. You can get into this property, get into their management system without having to wait for your number to come up on their list. And basically, like I said, it's already rented, it's already cash flow, it's fully turnkey. You got tenants that have been in there for a couple of years looking to stay. The other thing about a property like this is when the leases expire / renew, they typically raise the rents depending on the market conditions. And yeah, we're seeing interest rates go up as a result of inflation, but keep in mind, we're also seeing rents go up.
Exactly.
So I'm seeing periodic rent increases on these properties, 50, 75, sometimes $100 a month. So let's just say, hypothetically, you stretch to get into a property like this. Your cash flow, may be a little thin on the front end, but wait a few years and your rents are going up. Again, you got the write-offs, you got some appreciation going up over time. So this is one where you get in today, hold it for a few years, and you'll start to see, the benefits of long-term cash flow coming in the next 2 to 5 years, so to speak. So
and just
bottom line is that your typical 3-2 duplex in Memphis.
And to sprinkle a little icing on the cake with that, and you're absolutely right. Buy it now, or as we say, you marry the property and date the rate, because the rates are a little bit higher than they have been. But we all know that these rates are going to eventually come back down. Economists and everybody, all the experts right now, we're just waiting on the Feds to say, okay, I think we're there. I think we're in a recession. And when that happens, the good news is real estate always holds strong during the recession, but the rates come back down. So as we're dating the rate, when those rates come back down, they say next year, 18 months, we have a 3-year guarantee. If you close the loan with us and 1 to 3 years from now, the rates come back to a palatable level, we'll allow you to refinance it. We won't charge you any closing costs. So we do understand this market. Okay. That's great, Jeremy. I think that's an awesome property. And yeah, Mid-South Best Rentals, they're probably one of the best. Terry and Liz, they've been in the market forever. They manage over 1,000 properties right now, I guess.
Well, they got more than 1,000 just in the Fraser area. I know they're pushing 5 or 6 globally throughout Memphis, and then they got an operation in Little Rock too. So they've been expanding pretty rapidly. I'm not sure what they do every year, but they've been in business for, I think, since 2002. So they've been doing it for a minute. So
yeah, I love that group. Their
established.
communication is always second to none from beginning to end when we interact with them kind of on the front end through a purchase or even through a refinance, a home appraiser needing to get into the home or something. They're quick to answer and always extremely helpful. So that's great to see that they're helping out with that duplex. I certainly love to see that.
Well, Jeremy, what's the best way our listeners can get a hold of you?
Yeah, just email me, J.R. Veldman, my last name, V like in victory, E-L-D as in David, M-A-N @gmail.com. You can call or text me directly. My cell phone number is 662-418-7511. Yes, it is a Mississippi area code. I lived in Starkville for 9 years when I was working there and going to graduate school, so I haven't changed my number. So again, jrveldman @gmail.com. 662-418-7511, or just reach out to my buddy Graham Parham and he can connect you directly to me.
And all of his information will be shared in the description below. So if you enjoyed listening to this today, please like this. If not, share it with somebody that may like it or subscribe. But Jeremy, we really appreciate it. And maybe we'll get this thing sold for you today.
I would love to see a contract.
All
Thanks,
right,
guys.
Hey, listen, take care. Thanks.